This is the MLO Network Revival Series. We're talking about people who made it through last year, who kept going, built, grew. And the purpose here, we want you all, the folks who are not going the right way, not growing, revive your mind, revive the business, get back to being a leader, being a badass, being a boss, whatever the heck you want to call it. And we're doing it by checking in with people that have been there recently and that have done that. Jimmy, I've certainly watched you do that over the last couple of years. I mean, you've got like one of the biggest branches in the country right now. Your team is rocking on all cylinders. You guys are still doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 purchase units, like personally, plus you're managing all these people. You do a ton of VA loans. All this stuff is really, really, really cool. And, instead of just blowing these people over with like all kinds of things you got to do. I mean, there's so many things you really need to do in this industry. Let's
Sure.
start a little bit slower. Let's talk about like you didn't get there in one day.
Yep.
And somebody that's struggling right now is probably not going to turn their business around in one day with AI or influencer content or all these magic tricks.
Sure.
It was kind of I'm going to find out what I really like and what really works, and I'm just going to bust my ass and keep implementing and getting better. So like, when did that journey begin, and what were the kind of things that you built the foundation on, man?
Perfect. All right. So 2018, January, I went to Atlanta and sat in a class taught by a guy by the name of Steve Green, Steve,
Mm-hmm.
about Facebook marketing. I'd already been running Facebook ads, but I didn't really understand the algorithm very well. And so I went there and learned how to teach realtors how to do social. And then March or April of that year is when I first went to Military Mortgage Boot Camp in San Diego, where I met you and Leroy and Jason and everybody, Brad, and really just kind of found my niche. I mean, I'm a very much a patriot, love my country. My brother's the Marine Corps. I just felt like that was kind of my people. I kind of fit that mold, and so I wanted to be able to serve veterans at a higher level and make sure I understood it. So what I did is I took the things that I knew from MMBC, started doing the videos, and really attacked social media. I'm 50, so for perspective for you 30-year-olds out here, I've got a kid in Texas that's crushing it. He's under 30 on Facebook, so it is possible.
When's
But
your birthday? Just side note there.
August 25th.
Okay, all right. I got you by a few months because I'll be
Yeah.
50 in a few weeks here. All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah. 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 So no, I just turned 50. So I'll be 51 this year. So
nice. Yeah, me
yeah.
too.
So I started attacking it and really just to double down on social. And I built up enough of a cachet, we'll say, that I can kind of get away with almost anything. I live in a very religious state in Utah. So I leave religion for the most part alone. I leave politics for the most part alone. You can definitely tell the way I lean politically by how I post, but I leave it alone. And then I'm very authentic. I don't care. I have all kinds of tattoos. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. And my job is to make people better. And so, building up, I just transitioned to business, got 18. Was, where a lot of people were today, 10 million and then 37 and then 73 and then 100 million in 21, 60% purchase in 21. So that's what sustained me. And I built up a massive book of VA business. In 21, I did 93 VA loans for about 40 million in just VA. And so I really focused on that. And that's kind of what led me down this path. And I have a passion for it, which is why I love all the mechanisms on the internet of the different groups that train VA, because you can learn something everywhere. I've like I said, I began with MMBC. I'm in VMA right now. I need to find the time to go through the rest of the course. I've been part of Veta VA for 3 years. So I really want
Yeah,
to
well, we got
immerse
some really
myself in
cool
this stuff.
stuff coming, but this isn't about talking about us. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, just
Yeah.
diving in and being fully engaged, and it reminds me, I'm supposed to be starting these MLO Net series up. All these mentors keep telling me, like these other industry people say, Mike, how's it going? And I'm like, I'm doing great, but like I don't really make money doing this stuff. I just love it, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it's
Yeah.
like you should like have sponsors. I'm like, well. Yeah, I should. MLO Net Revival Series is sponsored by Veteran Mortgage Advisor, and it's sponsored by LO Leads Academy. All right, cool. There you go. It's done. So like, it's like,
Yeah.
but yeah. At the end of the day, finding the communities and finding the organizations
Yep.
that really are focused on doing things the right way and helping people grow, finding communities that have the right mindset, and just picking up little pieces every single day. You hear all these coaches and you see all these books and all the stuff about, like, hey, if you just make like a half degree shift every week or a 1 degree shift or whatever, eventually in the course of a year, you've changed 360 degrees. I mean, you've really turned the tide. And I feel like a lot of loan officers, when they look at it and things are really not going well, they expect, things to go better next month. It's like, man, if you're really struggling, yes, there's a bunch of things you can do to get 30-day business, that, text campaigns and all that. But if you don't even have a database build out, you don't even
Yep.
have connections, you don't even have a text system, you don't have social media, and you're missing all these things, it's hard to just flip a switch sometimes.
Well, so I started this business. It'll be 7 years this summer that I've been licensed. Let me think. Is it 7 years or 8 years? I think it's 7. I had to think about that for a second. 17. So, and where I started, to be honest with you, was, I started running Facebook ads. And that taught me a lot, because you kind of get your ass kicked by responses on Facebook ads, right?
Yep.
So I learned very quickly what didn't work and how I needed to talk to people. And I've been at this grind for 7 years, and mind you, I'm very blessed and fortunate. I manage a pretty big team now. I still actively produce. But there's some days I'm like, holy crap, man, I need a break. But I just wake up every single day and just look at it as a new day and a new attack. And I realize that, if let's say I want to do $1 billion in my branch, which is the goal, because we did 400 million last year, right? So we want to do $1 billion eventually. That's the goal. But I know that that's not, I can look at that and hope and pray, but I got to build every single day. When I get up, I got to make sure my people have the right tools in place. And you've managed people, Fish. It's a big burden. And I hate to say it, I don't want to call it a burden, but it is, that I got to think about 60, 65 families as well.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about that. In 21, I worked for myself. I cared about 3 employees and me,
I know. That's what keeps you up at night. Cause you're like, if things don't go well for me, I'll figure it out. I'll rent my house out. I'll loan, I'll sell a boat. I'll work harder. I'll hustle. I'll, whatever I'm going to do. But man, when you got all these other people and they're your support team and they're relying on you and all this kind of stuff, you're just like, oh man, this is a lot.
When we started our branch, I told my partner, and now there's a handful of us, but I told him early on, I was like, if we're going to make money on people, we got to provide value. I was like, I can't be the guy that just collects a paycheck and does nothing in return. And so that's really the big thing that we looked at. And so we had boot camps twice a week. We had our own sales meeting. We had all kinds of things that we were talking about. And, it's just really grown. Now we have it for our people that are local to us, in-person meetings on Thursday, where we do a training, or we do, like we had a guy that's a nutritionist and fitness coach come in last week, because I believe there's so much stress in this business. And we know plenty of people that have either burned out or unfortunately taken their life because of this kind of stuff, because it's a hard business, that we need to make sure we're okay financially and mentally and spiritually, if that fits the mold, and so that's what we really focused on. I am not the easiest guy to work for, because I have very high expectations. Like, I tell the story. I had one of my guys put a veteran under contract without pulling a COE. And yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I told him, I was like, and it ended up, and he was on TDYs. We couldn't get it from his command. And so they closed him convention. And I told him, I was like, look, I love you. I appreciate you. I was like, this is your only chance. Next time that happens, I'm firing you immediately. I mean, that's because you have to have a standard, and I have that standard for myself. And I think that's part of what people lack, is they look at the shiny object syndrome, but they don't hold themselves to the standard of executing fully. Like I watch like Luke Shankola's posts all the time on the internet, and he makes fun of people because he's like, they want all these magical leads, like TJ will talk about, but the leads don't work unless you make phone calls and you execute. And that's the biggest lack. I sat on stage at the brokers at AIM Fuse a year and a half ago. And my comment was top producer panel, whatever it was. And they're like, well, how are you succeeding? And I was like, for 2 years now, I've heard about everyone getting back to the basics. I was like, and none of you fucking have got back to the basics. Right. I was like, they're like, how do you post videos? I'm like, I take my phone out, I record it, and I hit post. Right. I was like, it's not that hard.
Right.
But but yeah, but people complicate it. I mean, you see the questions that get asked in the group, in this group and other groups. I'm
I
like,
do.
guys,
I do.
it's not that hard. Don't second guess yourself. Just
They'll,
execute.
they'll ask like I don't know. I'm okay with people asking questions, but like, okay, Google something first, read a tiny bit, read for like a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Because I can't tell you how many times I see people asking like two or three or four or five questions. And
Yep.
sometimes I myself, I'm like, I think I know the answer, but I'm unsure. And I
Sure.
literally Google it for them. And I take their exact question and I go, okay, I think I know this, but let me plug this in. Yeah, I was right. Okay, now I'm confident in how to respond because I've done this before. But like, okay, Google it just a tiny bit, ask a couple questions, but then this is where they get lost. So even
Yeah.
if they don't use Google, they ask their friends. Then they go, okay, well, Jimmy said to use my iPhone. Fisher said to use my iPhone. My friend Brad said to use my iPhone. I've got a Samsung. What do I do? Oh my God, all we were doing is telling you to record a video. It doesn't matter whether you have a Samsung or an iPhone, or it doesn't matter. Record the video. Well, I don't know
Yeah.
where to edit it. Oh my God, there's so much editing software. Just practice. Just start doing it. Well, I don't know what to say. Okay, watch. You've got like thousands of LO friends posting videos. Watch a couple of them and just get inspired and make it short. Like,
Yeah.
oh my
Well,
God.
it's wild. I was listening to Andy Frisella on his podcast. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of him because he lays out the truth of entrepreneurship, right? He's like, everyone thinks this is easy. He's like, all this shit on the internet makes people think that it's easy. This is not easy.
Yeah.
This is grinding every single day for 7 years. Now, mind you, I've got an amazing life, an amazing family, great house. I drive what I want. I mean, I've got a great gig, but I came from nothing. I built this. And that's what I tell people. I was like, look, it's possible for everybody. You just got to do it. It's not going to be easy. If you think it's not like you're going to all of a sudden buy Dogecoin and it's going to rocket 1,000%. You're going to make a bunch of money. This is not reality. Our business is a long haul. And you got to make sure you take care of yourself too, but it's a long haul that you got to take care of yourself and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I stood on stage at one of our events for the company and I said, this is a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And I said, look, I was like, we as LOs have the ability to make more than doctors and attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, outside of professional athletes, I don't know anybody other than someone with a 4-year degree. Maybe they're in finance or something on Wall Street. I don't know people that make more money than we do. Right. And that's frankly the reality of it is everyone thinks that it's going to be an overnight success. I mean, I joke all the time. I was like, yeah, I'm a 20-year overnight success.
Mm-hmm.
I built this when I was doing insurance. I built this from putting flyers on cars in the Walmart parking lot, doing whatever it took every single day to work.
I used to fold trifolds and mail them because I couldn't figure out how to get my postcards to print right in the trifolds at the time were somehow cheaper to mail in bulk. And like I would get cuts on my fingers and I felt like one of those Led Zeppelin songs. I got blisters on my fingers because I was literally sending out so many pieces of mail that the mailroom at the company I was at was like, dude, you're killing our people. And I'm like, no, I got to get these people these first time buyer seminars because I got to get 40 there to get 7 pre-approvals out there to close 4 deals a month. And I'm going to do 10 seminars this year. We're going to mail them. I mean, you got to start thinking like that. You got to start thinking like, what is the actual number in today's market of calls, of videos, of people I need to talk to work that back into the income goal that I want, right?
You know what's funny is a lot of you guys know Renee Rodriguez, right?
Mm-hmm.
Renee talks about basically 25 activities, money-making activities to close one loan. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it comes down to. So we're big on coaching right now. And it's very much a kind of a build out of like the corporate. We're doing it internally. And it really is about tracking activities, about making your phone calls, about meeting with realtors face-to-face, about calling your past database, about doing all the things that matter. People think that they're going to all of a sudden run a Facebook ad and they're going to make, they're going to close, 10 loans a month and make a 50-to-1 ROI. That's not real. You're lucky if you make 1-to-1 ROI, but you build off that.
Yeah, so. Exactly. All that kind of stuff. It's you got to know how to do it right. And cool, you run the ad, you get a lead, you milk the heck out of that, get referrals, referred to a realtor, the whole 9 yards. So there's lots of ways to bring in business, but like you said, there's a lot of activities that go into closing every single loan. I love it, dude. Okay, so let's go forward. We talked about kind of the journey, we talked about getting here and all this kind of stuff. So it's today, and you got an LO on your team that's not you, that hasn't been building, that isn't doing the daily activities. They're smart, they're hustling, they know the guidelines, they're trying hard to get better every single day. Like what does that LO, even if they're not on your team, maybe they're watching, what
Mhm.
does that LO really need to focus on the next 90 days?
I think to me, I think it all comes down to sales activities. There are plenty of people that will do the loans. I mean, yes, I think you need to learn your guidelines, but we've got a killer that works for us that literally is just out marketing and every weekend at open houses. You just got to do the work. I mean, there's plenty of people that will support you in the back end, right? But I really think that's it. I think you work on your social presence. I think you utilize every free resource in the world before you go and spend money. Between you and I, Fish and TJ, I guarantee we've tried every lead source on the planet, and most of them suck. Now, mind you, I'm always open to doing more. I mean, I've talked to TJ about it because I'm always open to doing more because I think you always need to supplement, whether for you or for your team. But I think it really comes down to my opinion is you start and you go. You start at places like Facebook and Instagram. You build out a presence. You grow it. You're consistent. And really, they talk about habits, right? And I think it takes more than 21 days to create a habit, but I think you create habits and you do it every day, and you literally put notifications in your phone, whether it be a Samsung or an iPhone, and remind yourself every day to do it and don't get away from it. None of us are so busy that we can't at least spend 10 minutes on the internet, drawing eyeballs to you. It's really it's a contact sport. The more people you can see, that you can get in front of, the better. And then obviously make sure you engage authentically. Like, one of the tricks that I learned early on was if it's someone's birthday, man, wish them a happy birthday. It's not that hard, and you stay in front of them. And that's really what I would focus on. And what I would do is, if you are brand new and you're tied to somebody, whoever recruited you that's a mentor, maybe they're a killer, like literally shadow them and say, hey, you built this and I know I'm not you, but how can I do this better? Like, here's the reality is there are plenty of LOs that marketed a ton, and that's what they need to do to get business. I don't have to do that anymore because I've closed enough loans that my social presence, gets me there. But that's not the ability of everyone. I've got a gal in my office that literally was at another place for a year, never had confidence in closing a loan. And she came here and I said, look, I was like, I got your back 100%. This is the value of a good mentor, right? I've got your back 100%. Just don't overcommit to something and we'll close your loan. Right. And I think that comes down to it is don't feel like you need to know everything to start today. I think you can learn over time. I mean, and frankly, as evidenced by, the other people in our industry on the other sides of the transaction, you clearly don't need to know everything to actually make money. You just need to know enough to get there. So
that is a good point, is that, we sit here and we make fun of people in call centers and people that aren't doing a good job, and then we get angry at them, and we just sit there and say, they're a part of the problem. This industry terrible. There's all the okay. Why are these people still outproducing us? Like, I pulled numbers for, let's just call it Schmetrin, because I hate doing that kind of stuff on camera.
Yeah.
But the call center that does all the VA loans, and everyone's sitting there going, "Oh, tell your people not to go there. Tell them not to go there. Oh, they're terrible, terrible." And then I took a look at some of the other top people like UWM, Rocket, and I was trying to come up with the math. I'm like, if I add up UWM and Rocket and USAA, did that other company close more units? And it wasn't quite more, but it was almost the same number. I'm like, hey, they did the same number of units for, in this case, VA loans, which they market to, than these other three companies combined.
Yep.
Like, that's insane. So okay, marketing matters. And sometimes I get going down this path of marketing and sales, and some of the people that are in my communities are like, we don't like marketing. We don't like selling. We're educators. Yes, we're educators. Yes, we want to teach people about the VA home loan benefit. We want to let them learn how to build wealth, manage debt, buy multiple homes, and understand the process really well. We want to rocket that. I know a lot of people that rocket all that stuff that are struggling right now, that are closing a unit or two a month, because they aren't embracing the marketing side of their business, not even the sales side. I mean, a really good marketer and a really good teacher educator, like you were talking to me about before the call.
Yeah.
If you're super good at marketing and super good at educating, is the sales part that hard?
No,
Not
dude.
really.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is the salespeople at that other company you mentioned are not great, but they are the greatest marketer in the world. All the time I get a phone call. Hey, I've talked to the VA and they say I'm approved, but I wonder if there's a better rate somewhere. I was like, well, number one, you didn't talk to the VA. You talked to Mortgage Research Center. And number two, let us show you why we're a little better. So, I mean, utilize their marketing to get in front of people at the end of the day. You know what I mean? If you figure you put a pencil, I can't fathom what they spend a month, but that's neither here nor there. You've got to be good at both. You're never going to get their reach. It just not without spending that kind of money. So
one of my best mentors, my company owner, Tim Pasquarella, is a partial owner. I don't know what the actual logistics of it are. It basically says like, dude, everybody's sitting here complaining about these rocket ads. He's like, they're my best marketer. Whenever they put a new message out, all the people that I already know, they reach out to me. He's like, I don't need TV ads. He's like, I just need a good audience of people who know me because they already know they're not going to go there. They already know I'm not better, but I don't have the money to be on TV. It's the same concept. Like they're doing these ads, they're sending the letters, all that kind of stuff.
yep.
You still have to build your little ecosystem of people who know you. And at the end of the day, that's where people are kind of missing on the marketing. They're not building their reach enough. Like TJ and I are teaching a class right now in Leeds Academy, and the members are kind of getting it for free. And I come on sometimes, and sometimes my internet gets messed up and we laugh at me. And I'm not even doing a great job teaching the class, but we're getting hundreds of agents coming to these classes where we're literally just saying, okay, agents, this is how you build a database. This is how you find more people. These are the questions that you need to ask. Do you have a realtor? Do you have a realtor you like? Oh, okay, cool. Would you use them if you list your house again? Oh, you didn't like them last time? Oh, okay. What went wrong? Oh, okay. Well, if you ever think about buying or selling, I'm going to put you on my mailing list and my email list and, think of me. But let's get back to talking about dogs and puppies and the town hall meeting and all that kind of stuff. It's like literally going through all the people figuring out how to add them to your database, adding them all on social, and then putting enough content out there so they remember you, right? It's crazy.
Yep. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's like you've talked, but you've had Facebook groups. I have Facebook groups for realtors, things like that. That's one of the things you guys taught early on, which I appreciate. And the reality of it is you don't want to be kind of the mayor. One of my favorite comments ever was one of my agents, another lender called to recruit her, which is fine. It is what it is. And she mentioned my name to this lender. And the lender's like, oh, Jimmy, he's like, he's got kind of a cult-like following. And I'm like, done. That is the greatest compliment I could ever get, because, I put myself out there as VA. I get random messages from agents all over the state. Like, hey, I hear you're the VA guy. Can you help me here? Even if I'm not doing the loan, because I'm very clear about it. Part of the mission of serving veterans, and this, it's part of MMBC, it's part of VA, it's part of Veteran Mortgage Advisor. I'm going to help anybody in any transaction to make it better, regardless if I'm benefiting at all or not from it. And I think that's kind of the mindset that a lot of people have to take. And, everyone's scrambling, oh, I got to do these 5 HELOCs because, this and that. I wouldn't do one of these junky HELOCs from one of these. Credit union is way better. I wouldn't do one. But I educate people again and say, look, I would happily help you, but this is likely a better option. If you don't find it's a better option, come back to me. But I get more referrals from that kind of stuff than I do even just from regular, because you take care of people. Yep. You want to be the source of all things. I get people call me randomly for all things. I get life advice from my LOs. Well, what would you do about my tax property? I guess because I'm old and dad, I guess they figure it out. I don't know, but I think if you make yourself kind of the mayor of your town or wherever you're working, and people see that, they feel like you're a source of truth, because until you are not a source of truth. So I mean, obviously have integrity the way you do business, because that's a big deal. So
I like it. All right, man. We'll bring it home. I got one last question. I think I know the answer to this, but you mentioned having realtors that knew you kind of all over the state.
Yep.
How did you build that? Was it showing up to events? Was it teaching classes? Was it social media? Was it a combination of all things? Like, how did you build this big group of people that knew who you were?
Okay. So, this is for you core folks, you're not going to love this, but I've probably been to 15 lunch appointments in 6 or 7 years. Not a believer in them. Not a fan. Not my game. I just don't care. I built my business off of social outreach.
I'm going to say amen, because I'm in the same boat, dude.
Yeah. And teaching VA classes. Through MMBC, I got certified to teach CE in the state of Utah originally, and still do it. Christy, who works for me, also teaches a very similar class that I built. So we both teach it. And that's really where it's come down to, is just having me. And then once people get to know me and they know I talk VA, I'll get invited to a bunch of different things. So I've spoken at like the the National Association of Hispanic Realtors, and things like that, because I know the product. There's never a question when you leave me talking about VA loans that you think I'm confused about VA loans. Promise. You know what I mean? And that's what it comes down to. And so I keep getting invited, but events to me and being able to speak to people is the key. I don't like coffee or lunch appointments. Is not my jam. I'll do it if my partners need me to do it to help with someone. But outside of that, if I never did it again, I'd be okay.
That's awesome. It's a funny story. I showed up to a class and it was being taught by a realtor and a loan officer, and the loan officer knew I was coming. He actually invited me. The realtor didn't know I was coming. He didn't know exactly who I was. And he's doing all this stuff. He's teaching that. And then he starts asking me all these questions on VA loans, not realizing that I was the one that kind of wrote that class that the guy was
nice.
like, yeah, this is this and this is that. And what's fine. He's like, oh, you know your stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of funny.
That's hilarious.
I love that story, because getting out there, being authentic, and making yourself memorable. So many people are afraid to get up in front of organizations and teach or be on video. And at the end of the day, that's who people remember. They remember the teacher, they remember the leader. They don't necessarily remember the person that sponsored the class or partnered in the class as much as the person who's actually talking.
Well, and frankly, that's one thing we learned early on MMBC, right? And I know Brad was doing a big series on it the last year. No one cares. You're your own worst critic. Just get on video and talk. Yep. People will support you. And if they don't, get rid of them, period.
Yep. 100%. 100%. All right, man. I promise these people will keep it short enough, like under half an hour. We're getting close to the half an hour. So if you guys want to find Jimmy, what's the best way for them to find you?
You guys can email me, J Hobson, HOBSON at U Mortgage, hence the U behind me, umortgage.com. You can call me, obviously, 801-979-6365. I am in Utah. It's Mountain Standard Time. So we're 2 hours behind you East Coasters. I'm all over the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. You can get me anywhere. I'm an open book. I'm very busy. I have 65 people and I'm actively producing and running part of the sales for the company and things like that. But I'm not where I'm at because people didn't help. I mean, without people helping me. And so I'm very much a guy I'll give you the whole playbook, because it's a matter of execution.
100%. Yeah. You could buy all the books in the world, but if you don't show up and, go to training camp, do the work, do the reps, the whole 9 yards. I love it, man. You got anything else to say to bring it home?
No, man, I appreciate being on here. Like I said, I got an early start with you guys early on. This is not an easy business. I probably wouldn't recommend people start right now, to be honest with you. It's not an easy business, but just know that if you can make your way, learn your guidelines and prospect, sky's the limit. Nothing's going to pay you better than this job.
I love it, dude. All those things, the same things I say all the time. And it's good stuff, brother. I appreciate you. I'm sure we will be chatting. You and I have Facebook message each other all the time, but hopefully we get to see each other live soon. I'll talk to you about our next round of events. And next time you're in Michigan, make sure that you don't just zip into UWM and go back home. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Peace, man. We'll talk soon.
Yep. Have a good one.
Love you, MLO Net.